That brings us to item number 12, which is our public participation portion of the meeting. And we've got a number of speakers that have signed up, but I remind the speakers that the board welcomes and encourages public participation. And we respectfully ask that you adhere to the procedures and decorum provided in board policy, BEDH, public participation at meetings. Your comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and Dr. Harris will help you keep time as your time is winding down. And any questions asked during public participation and placed in writing will receive a written response in a timely manner. So with that, I will invite our first person down, who is Mr. James Burns. Mr. Burns.
Y'all know when I love to come speak to y'all, I have to have a demonstrative aid.
You bring your own doctor too? That's good.
I did. I don't want my 3 minutes to start yet. You know, I heard a comment that pictures are worth 1,000 words. And in Chapin's case, a picture is worth 4,750. In Irmo, it's worth 9,000. And at Dutch Fork, it's worth 10,000. So you're probably asking yourselves, what do those numbers mean? Well, that's our seating capacity at our stadium. 4,750 at Irmo, 9,000 at Dutch Fork, 10,000. Last board meeting, you released your 5-year capital budget plan, and there is no entry for the next 5 years to address the seating capacity at Chapin High School's stadium. All 3 schools in this district are 5A schools. So we run the risk of our football team gets in the playoffs, Ms. Watson, and when they get in the playoffs, they're not going to be able to have a home playoff game because the South Carolina High School League rules mandate what the capacity should be for a stadium. And you're going to ask our football coach and our players to go to another stadium to play a game. Also on your capital improvement project, something you didn't include were lights on our practice fields. No lights. Our softball facilities, they're not Title IX compliant with a covered batting cage or increased seating. You're about to spend $600,000 at Irmo High School for Title IX compliance, but yet you've not addressed the Title IX issues at Chapin softball field. Our track and field facilities doesn't have hardly any seating where we can host region events. Our baseball and visiting team locker room, there's no heating and air in there. In our training rooms in the field house, there's one training room. It's 8 by 8, and that's it. That's our only training room. Now, when we bring these issues up, what you often tell me is, well, we've got to build these things at these other schools because of equity. So when you built the facilities at Chapin, the field house, you built a field house at Dutch Fork, and you built one at Irmo too. But when we come to seating capacity, you've never addressed it. Mr. Cage, you came on the school board because you wanted to solve problems. I've got a problem for you to solve. I've got a problem for you to solve. Mr. Gate, you've been to our stadium, and we've had you out there calling the game. I've got a problem for you to solve. So I'm asking you, I want you to tell my softball coach why Title IX doesn't apply to his girls. I want you to tell my football coach why Coach Knotts and Coach Kennedy have fairly equal facilities, but he's not equal to Coach Knotts and Coach Kennedy. I want y'all to tell him that. That's my question for you is, can you please articulate to him and articulate to those 2 coaches why that's the way it is. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Next, hear from Tim Slice. Mr. Slice.
Thank you for giving me this chance to speak. As a Chapin alumni, 1987, District 5, 2017 Business Partner of the Year. I'm just going to expand on Mr. Burns on stadium expansion, the needs. I'm amazed no one's been electrocuted. In fact, I've been shocked several times. A stadium built in 1974, 43 years, to my knowledge, one, maybe twice, on the visitor sides, it has been expanded. It's the same stadium I played football in, the same stadium I watched cousins, uncles, and aunts play in, the same one. Cracks, water flowing through, mice problem, it is infested. They are digging holes through the stadium. We as the Eagle Club, which I am president, we have tried, but when an infestation happens, we can only do so much. The rails on the top of the press box are held together by zip ties, a safety issue. The stadium is beyond what we need. It is just a disaster. Okay? CSPN, I don't know if any of y'all know what CSPN is. It's our student press network. They video every game. They call it live, whether it's soccer, whether it's baseball, whether it's football. They're crammed into a tiny spot. Our coaches are crammed into a tiny spot. Visitors have to go up on the press box rooftop with other students filming, with rails held together by zip ties. Now, Chapin loves to host, and we love to show off. As I told Dr. Hefner one time, people don't come to this district for the lake. No, they come for the schools. That's what they come to Chapin for. That's what they come to Irmo for. Dutch Fork. They come for the schools, not the lake, not what's around. But we love to host. We got denied the state soccer championship this year because not of where we were, perfect location right off the interstate. We got denied because of lack of seating. Our field house, we've never seen a building built with no windows. It's a giant locker room, basically, is what it is. You look at Irmo's, beautiful. Love the weight room, love the glass. Dutch Fork, looking out over the field. You know what looks out over our field? A little hole that you go into the training room. That's it. It's unfair. And as an alumni of Chapin High School and Chapin Elementary, it's embarrassing. It really is. That 43 years and nothing has been done. So I want you to really take in mind this capital improvement. And please, just think about us. We've always been the red-headed stepchild. Always. Thank you.
We'll hear from Mr. Richard Oots. Mr. Oots.
I want to thank everybody for allowing me to come speak tonight. It means a lot to follow up with a lot of the individuals that you have sitting up there representing Chapin. My biggest concern is safety needs. We need the capacity, that's for sure. But we have a safety issue that I'm not sure some people are aware of. On our practice field, for 4 soccer teams, 4 lacrosse teams, all participating at the same season, we have 1 lighted field, and that is our game field. Our practice fields, we bring in portable gas lights at $9,000 a month. I've had an opportunity to travel the entire state calling school districts, and I've seen a lot of facilities. I was surprised that we, at our school district, are utilizing gas-powered lights for practice fields. That's a safety concern. First of all, it's the best they can do, but it's a safety concern. There's fumes out there. There's been individuals that have actually made comments about that they've been coughing. It's loud, but overall, we have nowhere for these kids. Now, once you throw the football in there for spring practice, now you have 9 teams that are using 2 fields. All I would say is you have an opportunity to go around to the other 2 schools, see what facilities they have, and all we're asking is us to get to the level they are. We're not asking for more, we're just asking to be on the same level field. Now, we have several individuals that are up there with our SIC, as well as our booster club, the Eagle Club. We feel that we're doing our part. In the last 4 years, we've given $1.1 million for the enhancement of Chapin Athletics. I don't think there's any other school that has a support like that, but now we're asking a little bit of support from yourselves. Feel free to give our time, our money, and our efforts for these children. Most of these children will never play in college. This is going to be their only experience. All I'm asking is for us to give them the same opportunity and the same resources that the other two schools have in our district. Thank you.
Next we'll have Ms. Kim Murphy.
Good evening. I'm here, as many of you know, because I care about the school district. I ask questions and offer criticism in hopes that it will be used to make us even better and be supported by the entire community. First, I have a question regarding tonight's vote to procure design services for a new school. Is approving a design team putting the cart before the horse when you haven't yet voted to build a new school, determined how you are going to fund it, or analyzed other capacity-gaining options? Also, at the last meeting, I've expressed concern about steps taken prior to approving new schools. At least since 2002, we, as members of the public, have not seen analyses, financial or otherwise, of other less expensive options in that decision-making process. Nor have we seen similar analyses before rezoning, implementing an enrollment freeze, or buying portable classrooms. I use Lake Murray Elementary as an example, which is like other schools. It was built in 1998 with a core capacity to educate 1,000 students. But the number of classrooms necessary to serve that enrollment have not yet been constructed. The design classrooms were to be added on when growth came in, but they have not been. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the term, the core is the main portion of the building. The cafeteria, media center, administration, etc. But without having any discussion about adding the classrooms, in mid-2000, the school board instead started buying portables. Lake Murray, which has a core capacity of 1,000 students, currently has 960 enrolled, so it's close to its capacity. But it now has 16 portables, not permanent classrooms. This is not acceptable. The capacity issues at Lake Murray didn't happen overnight. And now, without consideration of other options, such as adding on design classrooms so the core can be utilized as constructed and funded with taxpayer dollars, a costly new school is proposed. This will remove the portables at Lake Murray, but it will cause at least 16 portables full of children to be uprooted and sent to another school. By no means am I saying to add on the permanent classroom. I'm only asking that before you commit to the major cost and impact of building a school, as our representatives, you consider all of the options. When I made that comment at the last meeting, Board Member White stated the reason the board wasn't going to consider adding the classrooms was because it had approved a policy limiting school size. To refresh your memory and to be sure the record is straight, according to the 2004 transcript, the board approved guidelines, not a policy. In fact, in this transcript, Mr. White is quoted as saying, the parameters are not set in stone. There's nothing to keep us from coming back and modifying them subsequently. We're going to assess it year by year as we go. And I think we have to weigh the decisions at the appropriate time to make the decisions. They are guidelines, and the decisions will be based on facts as they exist in the future. So, esteemed board members, that is exactly what I am asking you to do, and I'm hopeful you will give it consideration. Thank you.
That concludes our public participation. Appreciate all those that participated tonight. That brings us to item number 13, which is action as necessary on appropriate on matters discussed in executive session.